He kissed an alien statue as a joke and awakened the end of humanity. The wind cut like blades through Denali National Park in Alaska. It was early March, but the ice seemed determined to cling to the earth until spring's dying breath. The frozen forest whispered stories no one could hear until a group of young people, drunk on adventure and vodka, decided to listen to the impossible. Ethan Miller, 28, a botanist by trade and a skeptic at heart. He believed in nothing but biology, carbon, and the consequences of human stupidity. He'd come to Alaska with 3 friends on a kind of digital detox retreat. The idea was to spend 7 days without cell phones, internet, or any human contact, except with each other. On the 4th day, they found something that shouldn't have been there. It was a hidden cave beneath a patch of melting ice, revealed purely by accident when Logan, the clumsiest of the group, slipped down a slope. Ethan, curious, followed him with a flashlight. The entrance looked natural, but everything inside screamed otherwise. The walls were covered in spiral inscriptions, metallic lines that glowed even in the dark. At the center, resting on a frozen crystal pedestal, was her. It wasn't an ordinary statue. She had a feminine, almost human, form, but something about her proportions was off. Tall, slender, with skin a muted sapphire blue, like misted gemstone. Her eyes were closed, but her expression held a subtle air of waiting. Her hair, long and snow-white, draped over her shoulders like frozen silk. Her clothing looked like it was made from metallic plates, scaled, almost like delicate armor. "Dude, this is alien artwork," Logan said, filming with a GoPro they technically weren't supposed to bring. Ethan stepped closer, more out of instinct than awe. There was something alive here. Still, he laughed. "I bet if I kiss her, she'll take me to Mars. If you do, I'm posting it as soon as we get out. That'll blow up on archaeological TikTok." Nate, the third in their group, joked. "It was just a prank. Just a joke." Ethan leaned in and kissed the statue. A quick, ironic kiss. The kind of thing a skeptic does just to prove nothing happens. But something happened. First, silence. Then heat. A wave of warm air surged through the cave, as if an oven had ignited at its core. The walls began to pulse. Yes, pulse like they were breathing. And then she opened her eyes. Luminous. White. No irises. No pupils. Like starlight compressed into 2 living spheres. Before Ethan could step back, she spoke. "You have freed me." Her voice was low, melodic, with a resonance that echoed inside his bones. She raised her hand, placing cold fingers gently on his face. "Endomed your species." The silence that followed lasted only seconds, but felt like it swallowed all of time. Ethan's friends instinctively stepped back, slipping on the icy cave floor, as if the very air had turned toxic. Logan dropped the GoPro. The lens cracked but kept recording, pointed upward, capturing flashes of pulsing white light. She moved, not hesitantly, but with the precision of a body that resembled human form only by aesthetic. Every step was silent. Every motion, surgically exact. Ethan couldn't breathe. The alien stopped in front of him, studying him, as if analyzing every layer of his being. Her voice returned, firmer now, like a sentence being passed. 1,000 years have passed, and you broke the seal. The seal. Ethan could barely form the words. "What are you?" She didn't answer immediately. Her head tilted slightly, her white hair cascading over her shoulders like living mist. "My name cannot be spoken by human mouths without consequence." She touched her own chest, and for a moment, an image flickered in the air, a star surrounded by dark orbits, like a sun shrouded in death. "But if you need a word, call me Corinna." Logan, slowly emerging from shock, whispered, "This isn't right. This is so wrong." Corinna looked at him, and for a moment, those pupilless eyes seemed to stare straight into his soul. "You are the children of a loud and blind race." "Hey," Nate jumped in, trying to keep his composure. "We didn't know you were alive, or conscious, or whatever. It was just a joke. Ignorance does not prevent consequence." She turned her gaze back to Ethan. There was something there, something different in the way she looked at him. "But you," she said softly, "you were chosen." "Chosen for what?" Corinna didn't answer. Instead, she extended her hand. Ethan hesitated, and then touched it. The world exploded in light. Images rushed into his mind. Cities suspended in rings of crystal, interstellar wars, beings with 1,000 eyes weeping as their worlds went dark. And her, Corinna, leading an army of silence, with hollow eyes and a trembling mouth. A warrior queen, a scourge, a living weapon sealed away so the galaxy could survive. When a vision ended, Ethan collapsed to his knees. My God, you're a plague. I was created to be justice. You would call it genocide. But you were sealed, he gasped. Defeated. She lowered herself to his level, her face just inches from his. I was spared. Why? She placed her hand on his chest. Because there was a chance that one day, someone would see me as something more than a weapon. And she smiled. A toothless smile. A strange expression, almost human. And then you kissed me. Outside, the world had already started to change. The very moment Corinna's eyes opened, military satellites detected a burst of electromagnetic radiation coming from Alaska. In Washington, NORAD sensors lit up like Christmas trees. An automated space station, SkyCore 12, went completely dark. And beneath the ice, Ethan felt his heartbeat stutter, like something inside him had changed, like she had left something behind. 3 hours later, the sky above northern Alaska was still pulsing. There were no clouds, but a strange aurora had taken over the heavens. It didn't move like the northern lights. It was static, precise, geometrical, as if some unknown intelligence had drawn vectors of light across the sky. Ethan and his friends ran from the cave like hell itself was chasing them, but they couldn't leave her behind. Corinna followed, not running, not walking like anything born of Earth. She moved like the world belonged to her. The air parted before her. The trees leaned their branches. The ice withdrew without melting, as if the Earth remembered who she had once been 1,000 years ago and obeyed. When Ethan tried to use the shelter's radio, there was only static. The generator flickered. The compass spun in panicked circles like a terrified child. Logan had started sweating, feverish, staring at Corinna like a prey, sensing a predator just beyond sight. Ethan, man, we need to get out of here. This is bigger than everything. This is invasion or possession or something. She's not trying to kill us, Ethan replied, though he didn't sound entirely convinced. I saw things. She showed me. Nate looked at him, eyes wide. What did she show you? Ethan hesitated. The universe. Before us. After us. And her. She wasn't just a weapon. She was someone. Like a queen made to destroy, but who never had a choice. She was sealed away by someone who loved her. Someone who believed she could be more than that. And you kissed that. Ethan swallowed hard. It was just a joke. Corinna raised her eyes to the sky, as if sensing something. They're coming, she said. Who? The ones who made me. The ones who fear me. She stepped closer to Ethan. This time, he didn't back away. Her eyes looked at him in a way no one ever had. Not with affection, but with something stranger. Reverence. As if she saw in him the missing piece of a millennia-old puzzle. You activated the link. Human blood. Innocent. Unaware of the past. Only someone like you could break the seal without being corrupted. She raised her hand. His wrist shimmered. A mark had appeared there. Not a scar. Not a tattoo. Something deeper. A circular mark that seemed written in light, slowly spiraling. What is this? Ethan whispered. Legacy, she answered. Now you're a part of my code. And that changes everything. At the Aerospace Command Base in Colorado Springs, General Caleb Morgan stared at the monitors with a tension he hadn't felt since 9/11. What they were seeing couldn't be explained. At least 7 satellites had stopped responding simultaneously. An anomaly of non-human origin had been detected over Alaska. And then, the image. From SkyCore 12, just before it went dark. A blue-skinned female figure rising from the ice, surrounded by gravitational distortions. We have a visual target. Repeat, we have an entity. And it appears sentient. Possibly hostile, but no one was certain. Her face showed no rage, only purpose. Back in the forest, Corinna stopped. Her body emitted a soft bluish glow. Ethan felt the earth tremble. They've arrived, she said, lifting her eyes. Hunters. Lights appeared in the sky, metallic spheres, descending in total silence. 3, 4. 5. Logan screamed. Nate ran. But Ethan didn't move. He was frozen by the strange sense that all of this had already been written, and somehow, he was the turning point. Corinna took his hand. If you want to survive, you'll have to trust me. But if you do, there's no going back. And for the first time, Ethan didn't think. He squeezed her hand back. Then show me what comes next. The metallic spheres sliced through the Alaskan sky in absolute silence, like divine blades. There were no thrusters, no fire, only motion, fast, impossible, precise. 5 ships, small, pod-like, descended between snow-covered pines, making the forest quake with gravitational waves that cracked the air. Corinna didn't move. They've come, as promised. The elders. The ones who sealed my body when my heart failed. Ethan watched, hands sweating inside his gloves. Logan was on his knees, crying. Nate had vanished into the woods. They're here to take you. Ethan asked hoarsely. No. She turned to him, her white eyes flickering. They're here to erase you. What? You are a flaw to them. The link was never meant to be activated by a primitive species. The ground shook as the first pod opened. From within stepped tall figures, draped in black cloaks that floated around them like liquid smoke. Their faces were hidden behind golden masks, expressionless, with no mouth, no eyes. But Ethan could feel their gaze cutting into his soul. Ethan Miller, a voice rang inside his mind, bypassing sound. You have awakened the destroyer. Your species will be condemned for this act. Corinna stepped between him and the elders. He didn't know. Ignorance is not absolution. But he saw me, she said firmly, and no one ever has. The tension was unbearable. Ethan stepped forward. I can fix this. Take me, but leave Earth alone. You have no trade value, human. You are the key. The key to what? The 5 figures raised their hands. The air rippled. Ethan felt something vibrate in his chest, like his body was a resonant chamber. Corinna turned to him. Her white hair floated as if gravity no longer applied. They're going to try and tear the link out by force. It will hurt. It will kill you. And if it doesn't, she paused. Her expression softened. For the first time, there was a clear emotion, sorrow. If you survive, you'll become like me. Ethan took a deep breath. And what are you? She stepped closer. Her hands cupped his face. The touch was cold, but behind it, a buried warmth, like a dead star still burning faintly at its core. Something made to destroy, that dreams of being loved. Ethan didn't think. He didn't weigh the consequences. He just followed the purest impulse he'd ever felt. And he kissed her. This time, not as a joke, not out of curiosity, but as someone who, even at the end of the world, saw beauty in what everyone else called a monster. The impact was instant. A burst of white light exploded from their joined bodies, hurling the elders backward with an invisible force. The pod shattered. Ice melted in seconds. The nearest pines toppled as if struck by a silent bomb. Corinna screamed, not in pain, but in release. The seal had been broken, completely. The symbol on Ethan's wrist expanded, spreading like living circuitry up his arm. His eyes turned silver for a moment. Something inside him opened, like an ancient organ reawakening after millennia. The elders staggered, trembling. For the first time, their masks began to crack. Corinna rose with him. You chose me. Now the universe will have to accept it. What are we now? He asked. She looked at him, as if the answer should be obvious. Enemies or gods. The next morning, the world was different. Not just because the skies remained filled with incomprehensible auroras, or because 12 military satellites had failed at the same moment, but because now there was a face, a name, a guilt. Ethan Miller. Footage leaked from Logan's GoPro exploded across the deep web overnight. Just hours later, it was on every news channel in the world. CNN, BBC, Al Jazeera, Globo News, all running the same headline. He kissed her and set her free. At the U.S. Space Force Containment Center, an underground base in Utah, generals watched the enhanced footage in silence. Ethan with the glowing symbol on his arm. The blue-skinned woman. The collapsing pods all around them. This isn't a threat, General Morgan growled. It's a potential extinction event, and he's emotionally bonded to her. In the room next door, a behavioral AI ran the analysis in real time. Emotional synchrony between entities. 87%. Probability of submission, 12%. Probability of symbiotic fusion, 76%. Existential risk to humanity, total. Meanwhile, Ethan awoke in a place he didn't recognize. He was lying on a floating altar in the center of an impossible structure, curved columns made of a material that moved like living stone. The sky above wasn't Earth's. An artificial dome displayed constellations that had never existed. Corinha was beside him, sitting, watching. "Where are we?" he murmured. "Between what was and what will be. This isn't Earth. It's a fragment of Urul-Na, my world. But I thought it was destroyed." She tilted her head. "It was. But what is destroyed sometimes survives in small pieces. Like memories. Like guilt." He sat up with effort. The symbol still glowed on his arm, brighter now, pulsing. "What's happening to me?" She didn't lie. "You're becoming something new. Part of me. Part of the code." Ethan swallowed hard. "Am I still human?" "The wrong question isn't what you are, Ethan, but who you're for." He stared at her. "Then tell me this. Did you use me?" Silence. "At first, yes." She didn't look away. "But something changed when you didn't run. When you saw me. All of me. Even with everything I was." She moved closer, placing a hand on his chest. "You thought you were kissing a statue. I thought I was using a fool. But now..." She didn't finish. She didn't need to. The dome around them trembled. Someone had found them. Back on Earth, Ethan was already a curse name. But in the shadows, others watched. Inside what remained of Lunar Station Zeta 9, a secret consortium of human scientists and exiled alien refugees had been monitoring the phenomenon for years. "The link has been activated," said Dr. Hayashi, turning to the screen. "Does this change the plan?" "No, this is the plan." "You think he survives?" Hayashi smiled. A sad smile. "That depends on what kind of love wins. The kind that builds or the kind that consumes." Ethan looked up from the floating altar. The dome was tearing open, and through it came silver fragments, descending like blades. Corinha stood, and for the first time since awakening, she looked tense. "They don't just want you anymore. They want what we are together. And what are we?" She turned slowly. "A mistake. Or a new era." Ethan stood up, not even knowing how. "Then let's give them something they've never seen." And he took her hand. For the first time, without fear, the floating structure of Urul-Na trembled. The celestial dome, made of memory and forgotten technology, shattered like glass under the weight of the present. Corinha stood before Ethan, not as an untouchable goddess, but as someone vulnerable for the first time in 1,000 years. Ethan could feel his body changing. The symbol on his arm had already spread across his chest. Blue lights flowed through his veins like living circuits. And when Corinha looked at him, she truly saw him. Not as a human, not as a tool, but as a partner. "They'll try to erase you from every layer of time," she said, stepping closer. "But why?" She touched his chest. "Because you're impossible. You weren't supposed to break the seal. You weren't supposed to survive. You weren't supposed to feel me. But I do." He took a deep breath. "And I don't know if it's you, or this alien link, or the chaos of the universe. But what I felt when I truly kissed you, it was real." She looked at him for a long moment. Then, in a quiet and delicate motion, she removed part of the armor from her left shoulder. Beneath it, a mirror of his mark. She was changing too, and that scared her more than 1,000 Star Hunters ever had. "This has never happened before. Maybe because you never wanted it to." Corinha hesitated, and then laughed. A low, cracked sound, like something she hadn't used in centuries. "You're a glitch in my code." Ethan smiled, exhausted. "I've been called worse." In the halls of Urul-Na's fragment, the dome's sentinels activated. These machines weren't made of metal. They were woven from living crystal and ancient intent, built to protect Corinha. Now, they no longer recognized her alliance with Ethan as valid. "We have minutes," she warned, her pale eyes flickering rapidly. "Then show me how to fight." She looked at him. "You don't need to fight like me." "No. You've already done what no one else ever did." She pressed her forehead to his. "You loved me before you understood me. Now, help me remember who I could have been." And together, they ran. Out in the real world, Ethan had become both symbol and curse. Millions followed every news update with obsession. Conspiracy theories erupted in real time. Some called him the Blue Messiah. Others, the traitor of Earth. But there was something even more unexpected. People wanting to believe. People who looked at Karenha and saw more than a threat. They saw pain held back, eyes that had searched for something across millennia, and maybe a love. As the sentinels closed in, Ethan and Karenha came to a stop. "What do we do?" he asked, breathing hard. "Let me handle them. You need to understand the final fragment." She gently pushed him toward a circular chamber. Inside it, Ethan saw a younger version of Karenha, projected, frozen in time, pure eyes, no pain, no war, the woman she'd been before she was used. And then he understood. Karenha hadn't been created. She had been corrupted. The sentinels advanced. Ethan, for the first time, screamed, "No!" And something happened. The mark on his body glowed like a blue sun. The sentinels stopped. All of them. Karenha turned, startled. He stood there with his hand raised, and the symbols on the floor, on the walls, on the towers, responded to him. "How are you doing this?" she asked. Ethan blinked. He didn't understand. But then he answered, "Maybe because now I believe in you more than you do." She closed her eyes, and for the first time, she cried. They held each other, in the center of the star echo chamber, not as predator and prey, but as the last of their worlds, trying to build a new one. Together, the structure of Ur-Ul-Na no longer floated. It trembled. The sentinels, now silent and still before Ethan, were only the prelude. Something greater was coming. From the artificial sky, once filled with forgotten constellations, a dark shape emerged, curved, alive, like a serpent woven from pure gravity. Karenha froze when she saw it. The blood, if any still ran through her veins, seemed to evaporate from the inside out. They didn't give up. "Who?" Ethan asked. "The first ones," she whispered. Ethan felt the air vanish from the dome. Descending from above came the archivist. It wasn't a ship, not a creature. It was a being from before language, a collective consciousness programmed to restore order, which to them meant erasing the impossible. Its voice made no sound, but it invaded both of them like poison in the shape of thought. Error detected. Forbidden link. Contaminated code. Residual host identified. Karenha. Biological carrier. Ethan Miller. Resolution. Eliminate. Unauthorized universe must be corrected. Karenha stepped in front of Ethan. Her white hair spun around her like a crown of static energy. "You won't touch him. Your code is unstable. Your function was destruction. You have failed. The link will be undone." A beam of white light, dense like compressed plasma in time, shot straight down at them. Karenha intercepted it with her body. The impact hurled her across the chamber. Ethan screamed. He ran to her. "No, stay with me. Stay with me." He held her. She trembled. Her shoulder burned. A wound made of light, devouring matter. She tried to smile. Failed. "You still have time. Run. I'm not leaving you. You already gave me what the universe never did." She lifted a shaking hand and placed it over his heart. "You saw me as something more than a weapon. Because you are. But for you to live, I have to stop being." Tears ran down Ethan's face. The mark on his arm began to burn, as if reacting to her pain. The archivist descended further. Karenha turned, bleeding light, her eyes already dimming. "Listen," she said, gripping his hand. "If I fall now, don't let me become just a memory of destruction." With her last strength, she shoved him into the central core of Ur-Ul-Na, a space that only responded to those who bore the link. The door sealed behind him. She turned alone to face the final enemy. Inside the core, Ethan found the source. A pulsing crystal filled with billions of trapped voices. That was the true secret. Ur-Ul-Na wasn't just a weapon. It was a prison of consciousness. Among them, the original version of Karenha. Pure, whole, free. He collapsed to his knees. She doesn't deserve to die. Not again. The voices encircled him. Then choose. She destroyed worlds. But she also loved. She killed kings. But she forgave you. You want to save her? Give what she never had. A future. Ethan understood. The source could restore Karenha, but only at a final, irreversible cost. Give your memory, your form, your soul, and she will live without war, without pain, as she was meant to be, but you will never be remembered, not even by her. Ethan looked into the blue light, thought of the kiss, the forest, The eyes that opened and told him he had doomed his species. Maybe he had, but maybe he'd also saved her. Do it, he whispered. Do it now. The explosion of light that burst from Ural-Na blinded Earth satellites. Karina fell and vanished. The archivist was torn apart in silence. The core dissolved, and when the cosmic dust settled, only a blue-skinned woman floated in the void. No memories, no pain, no name. On Earth, the sky returned to normal. Ethan's mark vanished. The world survived, but no one remembered his name, except for one. 3 months later, she was walking barefoot through the Alaskan snow. White hair loose in the wind, blue skin radiating a strange calm. Not the chill of a weapon, but the serenity of someone who belongs. And yet, she didn't know who she was. She was found by a local researcher, Dr. Evelyn Morais, part of a civilian expedition funded by a private group investigating the Blue September event, as the world had dubbed the phenomenon. The woman didn't resist. She simply looked at Evelyn with calm, undefended eyes. "What's your name?" the doctor asked. She hesitated, then smiled gently. "I don't know yet." They placed her in a mountain clinic, isolated from the world. There, she slowly began to learn the names of things. Tree, water, coal, bird, sky. Then one day, she stood in front of a mirror. "Is that me?" Dr. Evelyn hesitated. "You are whoever you choose to be. But I feel like I was more than this." She looked down at her own arms. There were no marks, no symbols, no memories. But inside her chest, something ached. Something was missing. The world outside was also adjusting. Nations had formed a cosmic surveillance coalition. Space was filled with new eyes, comets, asteroids. Any gravitational anomaly was monitored 24/7. But no threat ever returned. No sign of Karenha. No trace of Ethan. Officially, neither had ever existed. Unofficially, in the digital underworld, closed forums and secret groups kept telling stories about the man who kissed a statue and vanished along with the end of the world. No one remembered his name. No one except her. One afternoon, while organizing the clinic's small greenhouse, she came across a strange blue flower. No one could explain. She held it for a long time. Then she whispered, "Ethan." The word came effortlessly, like a breath. She didn't know where it came from, but in that moment, she knew. Someone had once chosen her. The next morning, Dr. Evelyn found the blue-skinned woman sitting in the snow, gazing at the sky, as if waiting for something. "Are you okay?" she asked. She didn't take her eyes off the stars. "I dreamed of him." "Of who?" She blinked. "The one who saw me before I ever existed." And she smiled. Some memories don't live in words. They live in gestures, in reflections, in a blue flower that shouldn't bloom in that latitude, in a name whispered by someone who doesn't remember the past, but feels it. Every day at 6:03 a.m., she walked through the greenhouse. She ran her fingers along the flower's petals and smiled, without knowing why. Dr. Evelyn observed her for months, took notes, cataloged behaviors. But even as a scientist, at some point, she stopped trying to understand. Because there was something impossibly beautiful about that blue woman. Not in her alien features, but in the way she saw connection with everything around her. With the animals, with the sounds, with the sky, like someone who had been alone for far too long. One day, Evelyn asked her, "Are you afraid you'll never remember who you were?" She answered calmly, "If I was someone who caused pain, maybe it's better this way. And if you were someone who loved." She looked at her reflection in the water. "Then he'll find me again. Even if I don't remember, my heart will recognize him." And that was enough. Far away, in the hidden layers of Earth's orbit, an ancient artificial intelligence, built by alien exiles, maintained forbidden records. One file, one name, Ethan Miller. Encrypted file, emotion contained, but never deleted. Because even if the universe forgot him, he had made the most human choice of all, to love and vanish because of it. 5 years passed since the day the sky shattered. The world was never the same, though most pretended it was. Governments wiped the archives. Experts called the signals mass hysteria. TV networks disappeared mysteriously. But those who were near that frozen point in northern Alaska remembered. And most of all, she remembered, even if she didn't know why. Now, she goes by the name Yara. The name came to her in a dream that returned every full moon. A field of stars, a whispering voice, and two hands slipping apart at the last second. She lives in an isolated research station at the edge of the world. But she's not alone. Yara cares for children, orphans of wars no one else wanted, from nations destroyed not by aliens, but by humans. She teaches silence, empathy, and astronomy. But deep down, she teaches them how to listen to what has no voice. Her white eyes always search the sky, as if looking for someone she never met, or maybe someone she forgot. At night, she writes in a digital journal she found buried in the ice. No name, no owner. No one else can activate it. Only her. In it, she writes, "Today, I dreamed a man made of light and fear. He called me home, but there was no name on his lips, only silence. Still, something in me wanted to follow him." She doesn't show the journal to anyone, but she writes in it every single day. On the other side of the world, at a secret observatory in the Romanian mountains, scientists detect low-frequency gravitational pulses coming from a dead zone in orbit. Something that shouldn't exist. Waveform, emotional binary pattern, possible translation, residual memory triggered by longing. But no one takes it seriously, except one person, an old technician who, years ago, lost a brother during a mission in Alaska. And that technician smiles to himself, because, for a brief moment, he swears he heard a name. Ethan. On the eve of a new year, the children ask Yara to dance under the aurora. She agrees, dressed in white against the green-blue sky. She looks like part of the night itself. Her hair spins. Her feet barely touch the ground. And, for a moment, everyone feels the entire universe turning with her. "Make a wish, teacher," one little girl shouts. Yara stops, takes a deep breath, closes her eyes, and in her mind, an image tears through the darkness. A man, faceless, but with an outstretched hand. And then, a phrase echoes, with no clear origin. "If you forget me, I would still remember you." She smiles. A tear slips down her cheek. "My wish is simple." "What is it?" the children ask. She looks up at the sky. "That he finds me, even if it takes 1,000 more years." In deep space, inside a ghost station wrapped in cosmic dust, a crystal pulses, for the first time in years. And then, from a forgotten capsule, someone wakes up, brown eyes open, a name whispered like instinct. Yara. If this story touched you, leave a comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Every week, you'll find impossible loves that defy worlds, code, and time. Because the human heart is, and always will be, the most dangerous force in the universe.